It's your girl Jazzy K with Super Tight TV. We want to thank everyone that's been watching. Hey, if you do us a favor and hit that subscribe button, also press the notification bell so you can be notified every time we drop a new video.
You're not tuned into something super tight. Puffin' something sticky, nigga, I roll through the light. Need to hear something real just to get me through the night. I'm looking for them jackets cause I know they looking shy. Know I'ma get some game tuned in with super tight, yeah. I get the low love from Big Bobo, from the front seat, not no photos.
Already, baby, what it do? It's your big dog Bobo Luciano. Want to thank everybody again for tuning in to Super Tight TV. We back, up your back, going smack, 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 like we always do. It feel good to me. I hope it feel good to you. Say, I got my sexy ass, gorgeous, beautiful wife
It's your girl Jazzy K.
in the building. Say, man, today we have another super tight guest. This is what we call an expedited interview.
Oh, man.
You know what I'm talking about? Skip the line type of interview.
Yeah, VIP.
When you got one of the big guys, the big dogs in Fort Worth, Texas. You know, I watched a movie a long time ago called King of New York. Man said, if a dime bag is sold in the port, I want in. I want my cut. This is one of them guys right here, man. If it's a music being played in Funky Town or Tarrant County, let's just say that, most likely this guy has something to do with it. He got his fingerprints all over it. Formerly of the Nothing Beats podcast.
Nothing beats experience.
Nothing Beats Experience podcast. We're going to flip that this next week, right?
Yeah.
We're going to flip that to something bigger and better for 2023. We're going to call it the Smooth Vega podcast. And I got my dog, Smooth Vega, in the house.
Hey.
Yeah. Yeah.
I like that introduction.
You like that, man? I've been trying to work on it, man.
Man, you get me fired up, man. I feel like just running out the tunnel and scoring 7 right off the top. You know what I'm saying?
You gonna run the kickoff back? That's what I love to hear.
I'm on that energy right now, that Cowboys versus 49ers energy.
Speaking of,
my wife is trying to remind me.
yes.
Because we have a, we got protocol.
Mm-hmm.
You've seen the protocol, some of it, right?
Yeah.
So I need you to rub that blue star for that cowboy energy.
Oh, yes.
You know what I'm talking about? This is going to make this a positive interview.
Yeah.
This is going to make all the positive energy in the world come to Dallas and the Dallas Cowboys, okay? Well, we're not going to say Dallas. We're going to say Dallas and Funky Town Fort Worth, all right? Yeah, DFW, because we all one. You know what I'm talking about? This is the Metroplex. Oh, y'all still Funky Town or y'all murder word?
I've always liked the word the funk. I shortened it, man. Funky Town sounds a little old school to me, man. The funk is what it is.
It did turn to the funk. And I like that name too, bro.
The funk.
We're gonna call it the funk.
Ain't no way we can fake the funk when we're from it, man. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I like you.
I like it.
So, I think you told me you either have, are you married?
Yeah, so I've been married now for a very long time.
I'm about to say,
Okay.
get it right.
Get it right. So you know how it is when women are involved.
Yeah, for sure.
You better open the door for them. You better be real respectful and gentlemanlike. So I always let my wife start this thing off, man, because it's ladies first in my life. Handle it, baby.
All right, Mr. Vega. So we know that you rep.
Mr. Vega.
We know you rep the funk. But where are you originally from? Were you born and raised there?
Yeah, I've born and raised my whole entire life in Fort Worth. Grew up in North Fort Worth in a neighborhood called Diamond Hill, which I like to say is the capital of Fort Worth.
You sound like me with that. Claim it.
You know
So
what I'm
what
saying?
high school did you go to?
I actually went to Diamond Hill High School. So it's my whole life has been in Fort Worth. I don't think I've ever even really considered living anywhere else. Fort Worth is home, for sure.
That part.
For sure.
So, coming up, take us through, because you told me on the phone that, Fort Worth is your home and it's nothing else but, it has never been anywhere else but your home. Tell our viewers, because everybody experiences different things in their life, you know what I mean? Through your eyes, through your family's eyes. Take them through Fort Worth.
So I think I have an interesting story. I don't think that I registered until I was older, kind of what went on with the way that I view it now. But so first generation Mexican American, right? My grandparents, moved over here from, originally they moved from Mexico to Bakersfield, California.
Okay.
Relocated to Fort Worth, which is where my mom and my dad met. My uncles had a regional band. They were like a Spanish, all Spanish band. And so my dad was a roadie for the band, and my mom was the sister of the band. So that's how they met. They met at a show, which ironically years later, that's how I eventually met my wife.
Oh yeah.
Now, what was the name of the band?
It was Los Rebeldes Rítmicos, which translates to the Arithmetic Rebels.
All right.
Now, what part of Mexico are they from?
So my mother was from Coahuila, my father was from Michoacan. So yeah, that's a lot of history down there. But whenever my mother, and I just told this story recently, so I have a festival that I launched in 2021. Obviously I'm a promoter as well. And my festival this year is going to be the third year. I named the festival Centro Popular, Centro Popular, which, translates to Popular Central, right? My mother actually owned a record shop, an independent record shop from 1984, 85, all the way up to about 96, 97. I was born in 85. So I was raised in this independent business that my mother owned that sold regional Mexican music, and also she would rent out, American movie titles and Mexican movie titles. She was like a Blockbuster.
Okay, yeah.
But I always tell the story because I say, I used to always say the hustle came from my father, right? And I got my mom's heart is what I would say. But now that I got older, I realized, like, hold up, my mother was the independent business owner.
Come on,
Your
now.
mama got that hustle.
She was the independent business owner.
Yes.
And, she was actually a Mexican immigrant, and, her having a successful independent business from 1985 all the way to 96, 97, like that's where I got everything. Hustle. I learned how to be an entrepreneur.
Already.
And the music was embedded in me. And I didn't even realize it until when I started doing the festival, because I named the festival after her shop.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, that's how I did it honor. Because my mother passed away in 2009. So I think it was so important for me.
Sorry for you there, brother.
It was so important for me to honor her, but in a unique way. And nothing's ever going to be good enough to honor your mother,
No. But at least you're doing something.
That's a dang good start.
That's a beautiful start, man. And you say this is the third year?
This is going to be the third year this year, correct? I did last year, 3 6 Mafia headlined it. I brought Chameleon out of whatever hole he was in, and I got him to perform. You know what I mean?
Wow. That's big.
Yeah, it was cool, man. It was really cool to have
Is that toward the fourth quarter of the year?
It's typically the third quarter. It may be the fourth quarter this year. Like, I don't really necessarily feel like I wanted to do it every year. Last year I did it on her actual birthday. Last year I did it on her birthday, but I don't want to feel the pressure to like deliver it on the same date every year or the same weekend every year. Now, I just want to do it when it feels right, because at the end of the day, this has to feel good.
Exactly. I feel you on that.
Yeah.
You got to put your heart into it.
Yeah, and that's to come natural. But I say that so my forward through my lens has always been music based.
Okay.
I didn't grow up wanting to be a ball player. I didn't want to grow up, being anything other than a musician or in the music industry. And I never really understood where that love and that passion came from until I realized this is my
I mean, damn, you grew up in a music shop.
Yeah,
right?
I grew up in a music shop. I saw a lot of stuff, and I was exposed to all genres of music. My older brother, who's 6 years older than me, he put me on to hip hop.
Yeah.
The very first rap group I was ever exposed to was the Ghetto Boys. So
That's a good start.
That's a hell of a good start. You know what I'm saying? Scarface is one of the greatest of all time.
So is Willie D.
Yeah.
Don't forget about my dog Willie D. Now.
I met Willie actually at a Nipsey Hussle concert that I put on in Houston. So I was able to establish a relationship with them guys. But like I said, just in general, my brother put me onto West Coast hip hop, early on. So I was a big fan of like Dre, Snoop, Eazy-E, eventually Tupac, Bone Thugs and Harmony, through proxy of you know what I'm saying?
Who's your favorite rapper?
All time? Tupac's probably going to be my favorite rapper of all time. For me. But I mean, it's very subjective, because you might catch me one day listening to Tupac, the next day Scarface is always going to be up there for me.
Yes.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Yeah, so it's just, I'm a fan of Eminem as well. So, there's a lot of guys that I'm just a fan of in general, but those guys have a really close place to my heart because of where I was at in my life. And that's how I was exposed to hip hop in general. My brother being older, so I'm like, this is all I've known.
Yeah, me too.
That's all I wanted to grow up doing. So yeah, I mean, Fort Worth for me was was that, you know, and I think as I, you know, started developing my own identity and as I got older, you know, I saw a lot of different things. You know, I grew up in a neighborhood that, you know, I probably missed the height of the 90s, you know, gangster era, you know what I'm saying, where it was getting real ugly out here. I think at that time, you know, it had just started kind of dying down because there was a period of time where people were getting jacked for starter jackets and getting killed for beepers and shit like that. You know what I mean? We're you know, we're gonna jack you for your chains and roll up on you and, you know, shoot you for your Daytons, you know, the rims or whatever.
Northside is like that.
Yeah, it was bad. I mean, it was bad the generation right before me. When I got there, you know, I don't think it was as bad. You know, I remember, you know, the mid-90s, I was able to walk, you know, through my neighborhood, you know, at 10 at night and go to the convenience store and not worry about what color I was wearing.
Okay.
I experienced a little bit of that, you know, whenever I was in 6th and 7th grade, but it wasn't, you know, I wasn't really wrapped up in that. Like, I had a lot of friends that were jammed up in the street stuff. I'd never really, I don't know if you know this, I've never drank my whole life.
Okay.
I don't smoke. My addiction has always been productivity and music. So
I read it.
I, you know, people always ask me, "Do you do that just to say you don't do that?" I'm like, no, I didn't invest money into a lot of that stuff because I saw what it did to a lot of my friends, and I never wanted to create a spending habit on anything other than that wasn't productive for what I was trying to accomplish.
That's good. That's a good way to view life. Yeah. So everybody knows and hears about, of course, the Bloods and the Crips.
Yeah.
In Funky Town. Are you privy to information about Hispanic gangs in Funky Town?
Yeah, I mean, of course, I knew about it. I mean, I had friends that were in it, you know.
Okay,
what I mean?
okay.
And not only did I have friends that were in it, I had friends of, you know, older brothers and you know, older siblings that were part of it. It just didn't. It never intrigued me. Like, I never really cared for it. You know, I think around that time, you know, Menace to Society had came out, Blood In, Blood Out came out, and all these like movies were coming out that were, you know, talking about the street life stuff and
maybe the local.
Yeah, man. I don't know. It just didn't really. I'm obviously I know about it, and you know I've heard the stories. But
excuse me.
I just never really cared to like talk about it or glorify it for me because it was a way of living for a lot of people that you know they were just a product of their environment.
Exactly.
And a lot of those guys were misunderstood, but for me, it wasn't what I wanted for myself, you know. And I never got wrapped up in it, you know. Never got wrapped up in it, but I'm aware of it.
Yeah. So when did you decide? Were you in high school that you decided to say, okay, I've got this music background. I'm going to push full.
Wait, in school, were you ever in the band or anything?
No, I tried to learn the violin in like 3rd or 4th grade. And then that was about the extent of it. I was like not musically inclined. I wasn't naturally like put a piano in front of me and I was, you know, like I wasn't that. But to answer the question, when the bug hit me, I never associated it with my mom's video store, my uncle's. I never like thought of it that way. It never registered that way. I think that's naturally how I was wired.
Yeah.
I was in 5th grade. So I'm 10 years old, 1995. I'm 10 years old, and I'm about to be 11 years old, and I learned Too Short, I'm a Player. That's the first word-for-word lyrics that I've ever learned. See, I made up my mind when I was 17. I ain't getting no wife for no wedding ring. I'll be a player for life. So where's my wife? Probably at the rehab, stuff in the pipe. She must be smoking, and I'm not joking. Too short, baby, coming straight from Oakland. So that I learned that song in and out. So, you know, this is the first time that, you know, I had a rapper really like rap in a way that I felt I could emulate. And you know, I give all the credit in the world to Too Short. He's like really the first swagger rapper in my opinion. Like just super swagged out. Just had charisma. You know, he wasn't the most complex lyrically, but he didn't need to be though. He was just cool.
He was just too short.
He was smooth, man.
Yes, he was.
He was smooth, and that was the origins of me wanting to rap, right? Because, you know, when, like I told you, my brother put me on to Ghetto Boys, right? But even after Ghetto Boys, you know, MC Hammer, Vanilla Ice, that little era that came in, you know, I'm young, so I like that, you know, and then there was a song that hit the radio called I'm a Dope Fiend on 100.3
I'm a Dope Fiend.
And I need
You don't know how many times I've told that to people, but nobody knows that record.
Oh, yeah.
Just bought it from Chico.
The neighborhood thug.
Yeah.
You talking about some hip hop heads right here, baby.
Man, that was on 100.3 Jams back in the day.
Yes.
And I remember hearing that on the radio, and I was hooked. But it wasn't until Brenda's Got a Baby by Tupac.
Did that change a lot of lives?
Brenda's got a baby.
That song was the first song that I loved. And that's from that point forward, I was a Tupac fan. But never mind that, 5th grade, I learned Too Short, I'm a Player. And then
He's in the 5th grade.
yeah, I was in 5th grade. I was rapping this. Yeah, I mean,
I just thought about that when you said that.
Yeah, 5th grade.
You little kid rapping, I'm a player.
yeah, I was reciting the lyrics in class, and I remember, feeling like I could rap because, Too Short was, he was there. He was dumbed down enough for, us to recite the lyrics. So, and I don't mean that in a disrespectful way, but it was easy to digest.
Yeah.
So when I go into middle school, I think my first immediate thing that I wanted to do was to be a youth counselor. And my mom wanted me to, my mom would be like, you'd be a good parole officer because I had a leadership quality to myself. And I think I always wanted to be a mentor. But I started getting in a lot of trouble 7th, 8th grade. And then the summer of 7th going into 8th grade, No Limit Records had this wave that just took off.
Yeah.
And Master P became the next Too Short for me.
Okay.
Easy
rhymes to recite.
Yeah, easy rhymes to recite. Just, I learned it. And from the summer of 7th going into 8th grade, it was like I wrote down every No Limit Record song that I had access to. Everything from Cain and Abel, Set the Shocker, C Murder, Duggery, Mac, Big Ed, you name it. I was all over that.
And
Mr.
man,
Servon.
they was dropping them.
Oh man, I bought every Tuesday at Best Buy, every color. They had the color,
pen and pixel on the cover.
Oh man, pen and pixel killed the game, man.
Did they not?
And those digipacks that they had were real creative, man. Because they popped on the retail shelves, So I end up going back to school, and I tell the story often because it was a security guard at my middle school, Miss Rayvon Walker. Hi, Miss Walker. I don't know if you're watching, but Miss Walker actually saw that I was getting in a lot of trouble. She didn't know me. It was her first year at my school, and one of my classmates, who was a good friend of mine at the time, saw that I came back to school from the summer with 40 songs written, which were really No Limit Records rewritten. And I would just swap out Master P's name and insert my name. And I remember, because my real name is Lorenzo, I remember one of the songs, Lorenzo went to Benzo. So I heard that rhyme and I was like, oh, look, I would write the song. So my friend takes one of the songs, takes off with it, and then gives it to one of the teachers. It lands in Miss Walker's hands, and Miss Walker saw that I rapped, happened to have a friend, she happened to have a cousin that owned a recording studio on Avenue H on the east side of Fort Worth, JJ Snow, right next to Polytech. And she goes to my assistant principal without notifying me and says, if I could keep this kid out of trouble for 6 weeks and, he gets in line, will you allow me to take him to the recording studio so he could record the song? And they agreed. And so
that's how it started.
That's where it all began.
Oh, wow.
Now, what impact did that have on you, Miss Walker, this teacher?
It's funny because I haven't seen Miss Walker in over 20 years, but I ran into her son. Ironically, I was speaking at Diamond Hill's graduation the year of the pandemic. And, they didn't have a normal graduation because of everything that was going on. It was outside social distancing. And then I remember seeing him, or it might have been before that, but he came over to me and he's like, hey, you don't know me, dude? I was like, no. He's like, I know all about you. I was like, he actually was at the Rail Club right here on the west side. He's like, I'm Rayvon Walker's son. I was like, what the fuck? I answered her, but she changed my life. Absolutely changed my life. And she changed my life in a way that it wasn't so much what she, how she did. It's basically, the way I say it is, I didn't know how possible it was. It didn't register to know that if I just got in the recording studio, I could be in a recording studio. I didn't know that was a possibility. I'm 13 years old. I'm, in 8th grade. My friends weren't thinking about rapping. They weren't thinking about any of the things I was thinking about. And the moment I walked in the studio, I was like, I thought I was signed already. So I was like, this is happening.
This is life.
Yeah, but no, it impacted me to the degree where I'm like, as soon as I walked in there, there's nothing else that I felt it was a sign, and this is what I'm going to do the rest of my life.
And it stopped you from being in trouble?
Up to a certain extent, yes. But, I was never really in trouble to the degree of where I was fighting or I was, in gangs. I just talked back a lot.
Mischievous, yeah.
Yeah,
Strong-minded.
Well, you know, I think at the time I was probably crying for my parents' attention more than I let on. You know,
Yeah.
But it gave me something to work towards and work for, and so I from that point forward, my life was that. So I know that's a long answer, but that is exactly how it happened. And yeah, Miss Walker, she, you know, absolutely, you know, played a huge part in that. And I don't talk about that enough, but
How long did you rap for?
I rapped from the time that I was, you know, and it's funny because, so I meet JJ at 13. I didn't revisit JJ until I was 15. This whole entire time I'm telling all my friends, I'm going to rap. I'm going to rap. And I scrapped up some dollars and I eventually recorded a song. And my first song I ever recorded was on December the 2nd of the year 2020. No, 2000, my bad, 2000. And it's funny because I still remember the first time I ever went to the studio was on October 23rd, 1998. So October 23rd, these are dates that are embedded, like they're fucking embedded in my brain. Yeah. So October 23rd, 1998, first time going to the studio, first time I record a song, December 2nd, 2000. I keep on saying 2000, so it was the year 2000. I rapped all the way up to my last release, which was in 2018. I released an album, but I still record from time to time. So if I have the opportunity to go in and do a record with somebody and have fun with it, I'll do it. You know what I mean? Like I did a record probably during the pandemic with MC8, and that was someone that I just like admired. You know, Straight Up Menace.
Come on,
Straight Up Menace is one of my favorite songs of all time. I was listening to it right now in the other room.
Oh yeah.
So you know, if you call me tomorrow and you're like, hey, you know, Too Short will get on your record.
You jumping back in
I'm like, yo, I'm gonna go back in there real quick. Yo, like, can we run back that I'm gonna play in 2023?
Remix.
Real, that's a bucket list.
You know, I mean, I'm always gonna have a passion for it. And honestly, coming into the industry with no mentors, no teachers, nobody to show me the way or be a guideline, and honestly, probably being very underestimated because I wasn't naturally skilled. And you guys know what I mean. Like, there's some guys that you've met. I'm sure that you don't need to teach them anything. They just got it. Like, you're God-given
naturally.
And I wasn't one of those guys. I was one of those guys that had to learn the craft. And by the time I really learned how to rap, how to make music, how to structure music, how to compose rhymes, how to really know how to deliver, record, all that stuff, at that point, I already had a foot out because I started doing promotions and I started making money elsewhere. And I also spent so much time branding myself early on in the internet era that I feel that I was exposed to a lot of people that heard me and probably did not like what I did musically because I was premature. They heard the premature version of me. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with that. You know, like
So since we're on rap, you and I spoke, and I know you love Fort Worth.
Oh man, I love Fort Worth.
Let's go to that topic we talked about.
Yeah, shoot.
You know, because we have. I'm not from Fort Worth. I'm from Oak Cliff. You know, by way of South Dallas,
the capital of Dallas.
That part.
Singing Hill's the capital of Oak Cliff. You know what I'm talking about? That's right. What?
Wow. Oak Cliff, America.
Oak Cliff, America
is the capital.
Yeah, but there has to be a capital.
It's Oak Cliff, America.
It's like Austin. Well, Washington, D.C. is the capital of the United States, but every state has a capital. And we're going to consider Oak Cliff like a state, which is the capital of Dallas. And Singing Hills is the capital of Oak Cliff. I rest my case. Well, anyway, since we're talking about rapping and, we talked about me and what I've noticed to come out of Fort Worth, as far as my top 3 lyrics.
Yeah.
Lyricists, okay? We're not talking, popularity has probably where I'm going with it. It can't be how far they've gone. You know what I mean? You want to speak on that?
Yeah, I mean, look, I saw the interview that you had with Supreme. I don't think I watched the whole interview in its entirety, but I did watch whenever y'all guys talked about the top ever. He mentioned his top 4, I believe.
Yes. Fort Worth had a real good music scene.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Y'all had some real dope rappers from the 90s. And, who do you think the dopest to come out of Fort Worth there? Ever. I know who I got. I got my top 3. Top 4.
So.
Ever.
Six Deuce is a cold guy.
That motherfucker's in there.
Yeah, he a cold guy.
That's him. Genocide. Nobody ever talk about genocide no more.
He's a cold guy.
What's up, LD?
L Dog, that's my guy. Solo Lucci is a bad man. You know Solo Lucci?
I know who he is.
He's a bad man.
That's not one of mine.
He's a bad guy though.
He's a bad. I really have to check him out.
Yeah, he's one of the. So you already checked him out. You just didn't know it. A lot of that future stuff you hear. A lot of that. It's a lot of people.
He's a writer.
Yeah.
Okay.
Twisted Black.
Twisted Black's number 1. To me.
Go Yayo is in there.
He's my number 4. How you feel about his top 4?
I don't disagree okay. This is a two-sided question, right? I don't disagree his position on it.
Yeah.
I understand why he said the 4 that he said. But I think part of the reason, and I don't think people understand it because I'm so big on perspective. Life is all about perspective. It's
Absolutely.
not about, what's right or what's wrong, because at the end of the day, it's all based on how you view it.
Yes.
My thoughts on Fort Worth as a whole, and I'm very passionate about this, as I'm getting older, I'm 37, about to be 38 years old, right?
Youngster.
He says I'm young. I feel I'm old. I got those wisdom hairs popping out, slowly and gradually. But the reason why I say that is because I want to hold, my city and our expectation levels to a certain standard, and I want to hold people accountable. And as we're getting to, a day and age where everything's, vanity's popularized, followers, numbers, views, like that's how people base success today.
Yeah,
It's not based on impact, it's not based on
Accomplishments
or skills. It's all based on,
likes and followers.
Yeah, so I feel in that sense, when I look at the guys that typically you mentioned, which is Twisted Black, Go Yayo, 6'2", Solo Lucci gets mentioned across the board pretty frequently. It's not that I want to take anything away from their accomplishments. All credit where credit is due. These guys did great things. But when I start talking about accountability, I'm looking at it from the perspective, look, these guys did great, amazing things. There's no denying that. But for all their greatness, they also did some not so great things by getting wrapped up, jammed up in a sense. Some of these guys blew their chance.
Yes.
I interviewed Twisted Black on my podcast from jail, and one of the things that he said on the way out of that interview was, I go, what would you want these guys to learn from you? Yeah. And he basically states, like, I want them to learn from my mistakes, right? Because we're sitting here and we're I don't want to use the term glorifying, but we're celebrating the success of these guys. But the same way that we learn from what they did great, we have to learn from what they didn't do great.
Exactly.
Because I'm looking at it like, you guys are great, but you guys could have been that much more greater. Because in my opinion, professionally, all of you guys were at the 1 yard line and y'all were about to score and y'all fucked up y'all's chance.
Damn.
You know what I'm saying? And it's a harsh reality when you say it that way, but it's the honest to God truth. And I want to be able to teach the next generation that, look, these guys were great and they could have been even greater. Yeah. But this is where they fell short at. Don't do the same thing.
Don't follow
Because
them.
if not, if we're only celebrating and making everybody believe that this is the right way, these are the greats, they're going to follow it and they're going to end up in the same goddamn position. You know what I'm saying? And so that's all I'm saying, because you look at someone like Yayo. Yayo is young enough to get out and still have an impact. But the truth is, when he gets out, whether it's in a year, 2 years, or 3 years, I know that guy had potential to go to the moon.
Yes.
He had, he was the first product of the viral era, in regards to like Fort Worth, and he set the wave off for all these young guys to, follow his trend and his blueprint, and his influence will never be denied for that generation. However, I look at that, I'm like, God damn, you could have been even greater.
Yes.
But look at where you're at right now. And even though when you do come out, and there will be a point in time when he does come out, right, he'll never be the same young guy that he once was.
Well, he missed a lot of money.
He missed a lot of money.
He missed a lot of money.
And missed a lot of time, but you'll never be that new artist again. You'll never recapture the new artist energy. You could come back and still have a run.
Yeah.
But momentum is a motherfucker.
Yes, it is. You got to regain momentum.
And you have a window, man. You know what I'm saying? And so I look at it from that perspective and I go, you know what? There's so many determining factors in what makes, and what's the criteria when we talk about the best or the greats or the people that have done it at a higher level. And, there's no denying, 6'2", come on, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, he was with DLC, he was with Dre, even after that, he went on, he got signed to Timberland, he was part of Beat Club, he wrote the record for Pussycat Dolls, that Wait a Minute record, like, he did a lot of great things.
Shout out to my brother, Six Deuce.
Deuce is one of the dopest to ever do it, no doubt. I mean, could have it gone further? I'm sure he could tell that story better than I can. And I don't, with all due respect to Deuce, like, I'll give him that. But I think we could all agree there's a lot more to be desired with Deuce. You know what I'm saying? Man, come on, man. He was there.
He was there
more than once.
He was on the 1 yard line.
Yeah.
Seattle Seahawks versus Tom Brady.
Facts.
You remember that?
Yes.
In the Super Bowl, they should have. They passed the ball when they should have ran.
I mean, Twisted Black. Twisted Black's another guy. Obviously born in Detroit, comes over.
That's my next thing I was going to ask you. I didn't mean to cut you off, but since you brought it up, since we've had that show with Supreme. Someone bought it. Well, he ain't even from Fort Worth. I was like, but he sure ripped y'all hard. What's your thoughts on that?
So I'll say
That's
this.
my boy.
You know what? I'm going to say this. Like, I had the opportunity to talk to him. He identifies Fort Worth as home. So let's start there.
There you go.
He may have been born in Detroit, and though he has roots in Detroit, when you hear him rapping, and trust me, I listen to his music. For me, from a skill perspective,
yes,
he's the best.
Yes.
Like just lyrically, his double rhymes, his triple rhymes, how witty he is, his wordplay, it's very underrated. I'm like,
it wasn't underrated. He was there. Like you said.
Okay,
everybody rated him.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Okay, let me rephrase
At the
that.
fool with it.
Let me rephrase that from a technicality standpoint.
Yes.
He wasn't just a Fort Worth rapper. He wasn't just a Texas rapper. He could go.
He was technically sound.
He could go. He could go. And even I remember I asked him about the record with him and Face. And he said, man, on the interview I asked him, he said, man, Face outclassed me on there. I actually think Black got the better of him on there. And this is what Black being raw with it. Like, like he was just in there just snapping, But even in that song, all the way to Barry back to Miller with it. South side of the fort, the funk. He mentions Fort Worth and he raps it with pride, without a doubt.
That's real.
I identify him as a Fort Worth artist, no different than Camille being born in Washington but representing Houston.
Already.
Or even UGK, Port Arthur. They're notorious with Houston. So
yes, good answer. Good answer. That's gonna make a good one. Because people say that. You got people that are not in the industry. Well, he ain't even from Fort Worth.
I always look at how long somebody been living somewhere. If I was born in Detroit and moved at 1, I don't remember Detroit.
Well, the analogy I give a lot of times with Fort Worth hip hop and Fort Worth rap, and I mean this with all due respect to the OGs and the legends that have paved the way, is like, look, you hear the stories, right?
Yep.
Of I don't know if you guys are familiar with Earl Manigault and the story of Earl Manigault, which is like he's like the biggest, most, and you guys Google it after you're done with this interview. Earl Manigault is known to be the best street player that never made the league, right? He was the guy.
I've heard of him.
He was like the basketball. He's like an urban myth. Earl the Goat Manigault.
Yes.
So I always go.
The one to go out there and get that quart off the thing, wasn't it?
Yeah, like, this guy was the guy that everybody spoke about. Like, he's an urban legend, the greatest ball player that never made the league. He would have been bigger than Jordan, right? He's this big, larger than life myth. So, but he never made it because, his life got derailed because of drugs or whatever the case may be. Sometimes I ask, when we talk about Fort Worth, are they really the GOATs or are they really Earl Manigault? You know what I'm saying? And let that
elevate him.
let that sink in, because I was so close to reaching out to the local publications and going, let me write a story about Fort Worth hip hop, because I feel as great as we are, we could have been greater and we fell short more times than not. I understand the idea of celebrating skill and celebrating the talent that we've had, but we still have to hold these people accountable.
There you go.
And say, you could be greater. And the next guys that are watching these guys go, look, they were great, but be greater. And this is how you get greater, because
learn from their mistakes.
Learn from their mistakes. And I'm telling you now, from at least the conversation I had with Black, he would tell you himself that.
That's a beautiful thing. What's up, Black? That's my guy right there, man. So, when did you decide to say, you know what? I can be a concert promoter.
My story is really cool, man. I think the story that I have in terms of concert promotion was simple. Of course, I told the story about how, I got on social media pretty early on. I started doing social media marketing before it was really called social media marketing. And I just looked at, the landscape of, the local scene. I wasn't tapped in, and I didn't know everybody like everybody knew. You know what I'm saying? So I had I didn't have as many references.
Yeah.
And so I wasn't part of the circuit. I didn't know anything about how to get on shows. I didn't know any of that stuff. Yeah. So they would have like a local award show here that the newspaper would put on, and I started having a little bit of success, and that gave me a little bit of notoriety because I had won an award on there, and I started getting booked, but I just was getting rejected. Put it to you like that. I wasn't getting looks. I wasn't getting promoted. I wasn't getting booked by promoters, so it eventually led for me to do my own event. And I'll expedite it. The first event I did was probably the worst door deal that I had ever done, but I started doing all age events. And I took a door deal, and the very first time I took a door deal, I bet on myself. Yeah, which is the story I told on the podcast with Boss Talk, where I talk about how I turned a $120 investment and I turned it into $3,000, and I started seeing a lot of success flipping, and they gave me the worst deal of all time, but I bet on myself. Yeah, and then I started noticing that by way of me knowing social media marketing, I started having a high success rate with live events. I learned the trait from about 2006 to 2010. Okay. My daughter was born. So my mom passes away. My daughter's born. My son's born back to back. I go get a retail job. I don't take a full break. I start working with other artists. I start doing other things, and I just go, you know what? Like, I owe it to my family to set them up. Let me work, let me set them up. And I took a break away from it in terms of full time, but I was always daydreaming about it. Yeah. So by the time I get to 2015, I'm like, you know what, man? Like, I can't take this no more. I gotta get back to it. I gotta, this is speaking to me every day. I'm coming in. I'm not enjoying this anymore. Like, I needed to know I can have success in another world, and I did. But let me go back to this world. And so I started doing a little bit of content promotion. And by the time I got to 2016. I said, I'm launching my company. I'm leaving my job. I quit my job with $200 in my bank account on January 30th of 2016. And I did my very first event under my company, Premier Live Experience, on February 12th of 2016 with none other than Scarface, right? Sold it out, did 700 tickets, and by the end of February, I had $30,000 in my bank account.
There you go.
And that's how you do it.
That's a hell of a start. Hell of a story.
Yeah, and I mean, I went back to back, and I just never stopped after that. I think by the end of 2016, I had to work with, everybody that I looked up to, because, my first instinct was I'm a fan. Yes. So, I'm going to treat these guys with the respect that I want to give them. Go. Right. And so I would book these guys, and when they would arrive to the city, as soon as I picked them up or as soon as I saw them, I would hand them their back end. Right? Mm-hmm. And they would come up to me like, yo, what the fuck are you doing? Because this is foreign.
Yeah, because I'm going to be honest, you know now, you've heard the rumors now.
Yeah, I know.
But when you were green, doing that is like, let me tell you, you won everybody over just by doing that, just by treating them nice, just by being on time, just by not being a janky concert promoter.
Oh, and that was a stigma for so long. I used to hate hearing the term promoter. It shit made me want to take a shower. Yes. You know what I'm saying? I was like, yo, man, that's an ugly word. You know,
concert promoters can be like, have a bad stigmatism like a lawyer or a car salesman. Yeah. Oh man, they're gonna try to keep the back end. Yeah. Oh man, they're gonna put us in this bullshit hotel. Oh man, the sound system ain't right. Everything.
No, and I prided myself, but I think the first order of business was, let me go book everybody I look up to. Yeah. Work with everybody that I genuinely fuck with. Mm-hmm. And then at the same time as I'm working with those guys, and build relationships with those guys, because, some of those guys that are now considered quote unquote legacy acts, like the new wave promoters they weren't as interested. They wanted the new young guys. So the older cats that were, from the East Coast or from the West Coast, they weren't really being looked at in the South. So it gave me a wide open lane to go, you know what, y'all don't want these guys, I'll fuck with them. Wow. And at the same time, as I'm developing those relationships and working those guys through the circuit, and I'm not just doing Dallas-Fort Worth, I'm doing Houston, Austin, San Antonio, and working them all across Texas. I'm also establishing relationships with new cats because some of these guys are tied in, right? And so, there was challenges that I put on myself early on, like, I got to find somebody that I can break. Yeah. And I was very fortunate to have, I have a really close friendship with a Renaissance of Immortal Soldiers in their own right, very, very, very legendary group, from Fort Worth. He put me on to Joyner Lucas. He said, man, there's this guy that you need to take a look at. His name is Joyner Lucas. Dude, I think you need to catch the wave before it takes off. I have a feeling this guy's going to blow up. I was so like, man, I need that for my resume. I need to get the guy that nobody saw coming. I could say I caught him before he went in. So I reach out, find his contact, get a hold of Joyner's and his manager. I end up booking him when he had maybe 25,000 followers on Instagram. You know, I heard enough music to know, like, yeah, this guy he's one of those.
Yeah.
I want to get in, and I booked him, put him in Fort Worth in 2016, made the show free because I just wanted to promote him, have this guy on my resume, and we did the show, and here we are, you know, 6-7 years later. I still have a relationship with him. The guy's one of the most successful artists in the U.S., you know, in terms of independent, and, you know, and since then, those guys have allowed me to continue to work with every tour they've done as a result of the money that I spent with them in 2016, as a result of me believing in them when nobody else believed in them and me taking a chance on them. But I needed that. But during 2018, I did their tour. They just did a tour this last year. I did their tour, you know, in Texas. And I mean, like, I'm close to these guys. And that just, to me, was a big deal to have that artist on my resume, and not say, well, hey, I can only promote Bun B, I could only promote Scarface, I can only promote Eric B and Rakim.
Now you got them all.
You know, I'm like, no, I can also do Nipsey Hussle, Dave East, Dave Boogie, West Side Boogie, you know, all these new guys. You know, like, I needed to have that for me. So
there's a saying, it's called blow a bag to get a bag. And that's what you did.
Well, yeah, I mean, I also look at it like, for me, I don't think people understand, like, I call it music psychology, but I have a really good I have a great music mind, in my opinion, that I don't think people fully comprehend.
Yeah.
So I'm also having a forecast in addition to looking at, like, okay, well, you know, when you forecast what's next, sometimes you introduce that, and when you introduce that, it's new. So when it's new, it's not received with the same familiarity as maybe something that is already known. So me bringing Face and Bun, that's too easy coming in Texas. It's easy.
It's right down the street.
Yeah, that's easy, but it's easy to put that out to the public because the public knows that here. They don't know some of those guys. So if I'm having success with those guys that nobody knows, then what's the commonality? What's the common thread in that? It's me. So that increases my value, you know?
Very much so.
And then now in the process, I'm establishing working relationships with these guys, and because they're going through the rounds and they're going through the circuit and they're seeing all the bad promoters, they remember the good ones.
They always remember the good ones. You know? That's what I was going to go with that. You always remember the good ones. Now, I watched you, I believe it was on Boss Talk. Shout out to my man ECEO who wants to make over Boss Talk. You did something that I've only seen done once. And what these guys did, shout out to the Rally Boys, just know, you know, Rally D, Cotton. What they did was, back in the 90s, they would throw concerts and bring the big people, right? And while they had them in town, they recorded with them. Sound like you.
Man.
Sound like you bringing them to town for concerts, and while you got the relationship built with them, turn on these cameras. Let's talk about your podcast.
Yeah.
Let's talk about your podcast, because I heard a story how that was pissing you off. Something pissed you off, and it snapped in your head. I need to do it this way. Tell that story.
I mean, I love telling that story because it's an important one, right? And, you know, it's part of the journey, you know, and I could go real deep and give you like the long plan, but I'm going to give you the short condensed version, which is, you know, I was booking shows 2015, 2016, 2017. That time frame in specific was very, you know, it was the beginning of Premier Live Experience, which is the company. I'm booking all these artists, and media is reaching out to me, and they're grabbing the interviews. And me, because I want to build a relationship, I'm giving 97.9 the interview. I'm giving K104 the interview. I'm giving the Dallas Observer, whoever's asking for the interview, I'm giving it to them. I started noticing 97.9, you know, they were filming the interviews, they were posting them on social media, but they wouldn't mention my company because they're like, well, you're not running advertisements with us. And I'm looking at these interviews and I'm like, dude, I just brought The Game, or I just brought Bun B to you, and I'm paying him 10 grand or 20 grand. Like, to me, that's a 20 grand interview.
Yeah, that's running an ad with you.
Yeah, that's a lot of equity that I'm giving you, and the least you could do is just shout me out, man. But the fact that you're not willing to do that, after a while, I'm like, I'm playing myself. So I was like, I want to start my own platform to, you know, market and promote my own shows, you know, with the artists that I'm booking. And I went through different variations of that before I got to what ultimately became my stuff. Right now, fast forward to today. I say, you know, like whenever you go to a casino, you know how you hit a jackpot slot, right? You know, when it's like you And then it's like 7, 7, 7, 7, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, to me, to hit all 4, it's like, okay, get the show, profit off the show,
Mm-hmm.
you know, get an interview and get a feature.
Yeah,
If I can run the table, which has happened, it just doesn't happen all the time. Then I hit the jackpot. You know, I have an artist that I manage, so I work the features through her or through other guys that I might fuck with. And then, you know, if I get the interview, you know, even better. And then if the show happens, great. And then if the show's profitable, even greater.
Wow. Yeah.
Does it always happen that way? No.
No.
But yeah, that is part of the strategy for me because, you know, money motivates. You know, at the end of the day, money is one of the easiest way to break ice and create a relationship.
Come on now.
You know what I mean? But I'm also,
blow a bag to get a bag.
But I'm gonna tell you also, man, something I always tell people. If you spend money the right way with people, you never have to spend it again.
Say that.
You know,
say that again.
Yeah, right.
Sometimes,
say that again.
sometimes the money's just to gain the access. You know,
And then you got to build a relationship from there.
you know, I have a great relationship with Royce the 5'9". I spent money with him in 2006, 2007, and you know, I was just at his studio over the weekend. I was teaching a social media class. He let me drive his Mercedes Benz across town. He let me stay at the studio, like, you know, just family now.
Already.
Family, and I, you know, I can't say good.
What's up, Royce?
Yeah, man, I can't say enough good things about. So with him, you know, like he's a hell of a mentor and a hell of a friend.
Hell of a MC.
Yeah, oh yeah, goes without saying.
Hell of a MC.
Yeah, you know, one of the greats, and that's what I'm saying. Like, but spend money with him once.
Oh yeah.
You know, I mean, I still spend it. Like if we do a show, of course.
Oh, for sure. You break bread.
Yeah, you know, but that's where I'm at too today. Like, you know, as a promoter, like it's not to say that I don't ever want to do shows like I was doing then, but now I'm more interested in spending money with the guys that look out for me. Like,
Already.
I want to work with, like, if Joyner, Royce, Joe Budden, any of those guys do a show today, or if they need me, I'm doing it without hesitation. Like, say less.
They would rather you do it than deal with the janky.
You know what
I'm saying?
And I'd rather do it than let them allow them.
Yeah,
to
because you don't want them to go down that road, you know,
Yeah.
especially at the age that we are now.
Yeah.
We can deal with them janky promoters in our 20s, man.
Yeah.
We've learned to build those relationships, and that's our guy.
Yeah.
That's my guy in Fort Worth. That's my guy in Dallas. That's my guy in Mississippi. That's my guy, you know, that type of thing.
Yeah, for sure.
And so, and then when you get a new concert promoter, anxiety goes up.
I mean, I just want. I mean, also to me, it's like I'm invested.
Yes.
I'm invested in their success, and I don't ever want to.
And they see that too, brother.
Yeah, and I never want to limit it to just like the concerts. Like if I'm given the opportunity to build their brand or help them with social media, I do it. I do it because it also challenges me because, you know, when I talk about the music mind, the music psychology, I you know, we talk about, you know, what the ultimate goals are, right? You know, like, what do I want to be viewed as? Like, I don't want to be viewed as just a promoter. I want to be viewed as an executive. I want to be looked at as an A&R, as a project manager, someone that can identify talent and someone that can enhance someone's situation, right? And I think there's so many different ways to do that. You know, there's so many different ways to enhance people's careers, you know, and
How to be an asset. That's what you.
yeah. And
Now, you know something you and I spoke about through all of your accolades, achievements. We're going to talk about how you are underutilized in this city.
yeah.
That's a hell of a one right there, ain't it?
Yeah, I mean, because look, I mean, you look at it from, if you look at the Smooth Vega career on paper, right? People could discredit, you know, certain, you know, accolades based off of, well, you know, that's just the Fort Worth Weekly, right? The Fort Worth Weekly, you know, I won the Best Rap Artist Award in 2006, 2007, 2015. So that's 3 awards there. I was inducted into the Fort Worth Music Hall of Fame by way of the Fort Worth Weekly in 2019. Right? I'm at this point. I'm only 34 years old. I'm like, don't OG me yet. I'm still in my prime. I'm still running. You know?
Right.
You know, don't do that to me yet. You know, but they did. You know, and all that to say, you know, as a promoter, been nominated. You know, I've had all these cool things happen. You know, where I've been recognized even last year for the Cosign Awards. They nominated me for Entrepreneur of the Year. And being able to get that recognition does mean a lot. But at the same time, you know, I just shared a story on my Facebook. So me and Bobo spoke on the phone Monday. I'm in LA on Monday, right? I'm having a meeting with D-Smoke. And after the meeting with D-Smoke, I'm on my way to Power 106 and K-Day. And, you know, over there, you know, the main personality who's a 19-year radio vet, my bad, a 19-year radio vet, super respected, you know, well-known out there, reached out to me and said that she wanted to have a meeting with me and the assistant program director. So my thought immediately was like, they want to give me a show. Why else are they going to fucking have me?
Yeah, that's where I would go too.
So I went and we had a meeting and, you know, first and foremost, great people, showed so much respect, so much like they knew my shit, they knew my content, and they essentially offered a form of a partnership and a relationship where they want to start featuring my content on the morning show, as well as, you know, have me start coming and doing some kind of correspondent work, borderline, bring my podcast setup out there.
That's what's up.
And I was so moved by it. But the moment I get in the car,
tell them about it.
this is what happened. So I get in
reality.
the car, it just like slapped me in the face, and I just shut down, and I couldn't talk. And then the reason why I couldn't talk is because I couldn't process that here I am in the second largest market in the United States, in LA, right? New York being number 1, LA being number 2, right? You talk about K8, Power 106.
Big stations.
You know, this is second to only maybe Hot 97, right?
Yeah, you're right.
These people are recognizing me, but Dallas-Fort Worth, K104, 97.9, and all the radio stations just have never extended the arm.
Never will.
What is that?
Yeah, I'm not even mad at 97 or 104 because of it. I just could not register how I'm over here and how they're telling, like,
and you in their own backyard.
Yeah, I'm like, yo, they're rolling out the red carpet for me, and here I am under your nose producing top notch, whether it's content, whether it's concerts, whether it's having a hand or my DNA in so many different situations. Like, how are y'all not recognizing it? And then I started really thinking about it on the way back to the airport. Like, is it because I'm not loud enough? Is it because I'm not? Because I mean, you know, I know how to be a self-promoter. I am a self-promoter. But to that degree, do I have to be even more? Do I have to be louder? Do I have to turn up the volume? Do I have to resort to antics? You know,
you have to get recognized somewhere else.
Unfortunately.
Why is that?
Maybe they, I don't know. I just thought about this sitting here while you're speaking.
Yeah.
Maybe you are one of those type of people who can't be controlled.
You're probably right. You know, one thing that I always tell people.
Not saying that my people, because I got friends that work there. Not saying that y'all could be controlled, but in our situation, I'm gonna let you go back to your story. We had a radio show, and everybody in Dallas knew it was this.
Okay.
You know what I mean? And they knew I retired, and everybody was like, surely. Not even that I wanted to go, but surely K104 and 97.9 is going to reach out to Bobo and get him a show. And I never really wanted it. I started wanting it after a while, but at that time I didn't. But you have to sit back and think. It's in the same scenario that you're speaking that you got to wonder why. Wonder why.
I'm gonna tell you what I think it may be, which, I mean, now that, you know, we talked, and I always feel like the thing that comes to mind is that you're right. I think independence intimidates, right? I always use the analogy of me and you go to a gas station and we're two single men and we see a woman that's just fine as hell, and she's driving a Mercedes Benz and dressed in, you know, top notch, you know, Louis Vuitton or whatever. Like, we might look at her, she might be the most beautiful woman in the world, but we're probably like, man, there's no way we got a chance. You know, we're driving a little Toyota, she's driving a Mercedes Benz, not knowing she might be the most lonely woman, and all she wants is company and don't give a damn about all that superficial shit.
Gotta shoot your shot.
Yeah, we're too intimidated to even approach her. I feel sometimes when people see that, you know, they get intimidated by the idea of someone being independent. And, you know, I'm not going to lie to you, over the last few days, you know, I've resorted to like some just antics to kind of see if people bite the bait. I started calling out Rainwater, believe it or not. And
shout out my brother Rainwater. We talked about that, huh?
We talked about that.
Rainwater! What's up, brother?
Let me clarify something about that, just for the record. I don't dislike the guy at all. I don't even know the guy. But it was, you know, I was doing it for sport, but I was also doing it to see how people respond and react to content. And to my point, which is, you know, when you rattle the cage and you're the loud guy.
You know that is. That's what it is, bro.
And I did it. And as a result, the followers went up. And I'm like, man, y'all are so
messy.
They like the negative stuff, bro.
And it's so interesting to me because it's like, I'm doing it to fuck with y'all. Y'all don't even realize I'm working you. I'm trolling you.
Yes.
You know, social media to me is Pinocchio. We are Geppetto. We pull the strings, you know?
Yes. But it's amazing, on that note, how you could post something like you just showed me your TikTok. You remember you showed me one that was real positive?
Yeah.
It's amazing that on that platform, it's not amazing, but it's good that you have as many, I don't know what they're called, clicks, likes, or whatever, on views or whatever. On views on that one. because I noticed that when you tend to post something positive, you don't get many. But as soon as you put up, oh man, this is the time Pimp C got into it with such and such.
Yeah.
Boy, it's going through the roof. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They want to hear about the drama.
And I feel like sometimes but you know, as creatives, as you know, people in general, we have the ability to control our narrative.
But be honest though, because I'm thinking, my mind is always rolling. Think about when you was a kid.
Yeah.
You want to go to a movie? You gonna go see a love story?
Never.
Yes.
You gonna go? No, though.
I went to see the Titanic.
Well, you also want to go see Menace, Boys in the Hood.
Yeah.
You also want to go see the scary movie. You always want to go see the action movies. You want to see the one with the bad guy. You know,
The action.
maybe that's what it is.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what it is.
I mean, you know, it's a form of entertainment, man. That's why I don't take a lot of these guys that are on the internet too serious, because I know they're all characters, and the internet as a whole is an alternate reality to begin with, right?
Yeah.
But you know, it does consume a lot of people's, like, you know, the way they digest things and the way they try to approach things, and they start second guessing whether or not they're doing enough because they're watching what everybody else is doing.
Exactly.
But it's a sport to me, you know. So, you know, at the end of the day, you know, of course, I want to be the best at what I do. I feel I'm the best at what I do. So if I, you know, I've never really been the type of guy that wants to challenge someone one-on-one. Yeah, hey, I got a basketball. I see the hoop right there. Let's go play a game of 21. And, you know, I feel, you know, with the podcast coming now and me kind of like going into more of an open format and sharing my perspectives and my opinions and my experiences, I'm a little bit more, you know, prepared to take on that role, because for a long time, and I've said this, you know, I feel like I may have had a form of imposter syndrome where I didn't necessarily see myself the way the world saw me, right? I didn't necessarily, people already felt like I was massively successful, but I'm like, I'm not successful enough. Like, you know, oh man, you're doing great. I'm like,
You're not where you want to be.
Yeah, I'm like, shit, I'm halfway there. You know, I'm 20 plus in, you know, like, but, you know, to be able to do some of the things that I've been able to do, especially over the last year, you know, whether it's going to Power 106, whether it's going to the Rock Nation office in New York, whether it's, you know, touring across the country and being able to put on big plays and big shows and work with a lot of major artists, like those are things that are very validating and lets me know, like, you know, you're right on the right path. Yeah. But it comes at a cost, man. It comes at a cost. You know, you know, time, sacrifice. You got time. You know, I got 3 kids. You know, my kids are babies. But
how old are your babies?
So my oldest is about to be 13. My second is about to be 12, and my third is about to be 9. But they're all back to back. You know, and I got 2 girls, so they count as 2 boys. You know, 2 boys apiece. So that's like 5 kids. You know?
You
got 4 girls.
So you got 8.
And they are handfuls.
You got 8, and they run shit. You know, there's nothing you can do.
And then when you leave them, you miss them. You miss them, and they need their daddy. You know what I'm saying?
They run shit for y'all.
Yeah, no, my oldest
girls do.
My oldest has gotten to an age where, like, you know, nothing I do is cool, for one. But I'm at an age, you know, I'm also at a point where, like, she's starting to develop her own thought process and her own, you know, her own way of thinking. So, you know, I think probably a few weeks ago she hit me with the word misogynistic. She's like, "You're misogynistic."
What's the other word that you said?
Offensive. That's offensive.
That's offensive.
Yeah. So when you start hearing those words, I'm like, all right, I got to check myself, man. You know what I mean? Like, but you know, that's kind of where my mind's at now. You know, and you know, missing birthdays and missing occasions, like those things aren't easy things to do.
That's tough, bro.
Yeah, it's hard.
So we went to California, had a great meeting, Power 106.
K-Day.
We did the beautiful podcast. You have an excellent podcast, bro. We've mastered concert promotions. What's the next move for Mr. Smooth Vega?
I mean, I think the extension of the podcast is going to be, you know, that's going to be a big part of it, because, you know, in terms of content, you know, and this is something I was talking to you about on the phone earlier. I'm like, look, man, there's a difference between, you know, social media management, content creation, and content strategy. You are already doing the most important piece of it, which is creating content. Now it's a matter of strategizing the content. For me, part of the initiative in 2023 and beyond is getting consistent and increasing the frequency of the content that I create. So, you know, we're looking at, you know, this podcast as a way to propel my personal brand. And as a result, anything attached to my personal brand, whether that's the artist I manage or the endeavors that I eventually plan to get into. I think the goal has always been to be a record executive. I think there was a period of time, I don't necessarily know that I wanted to run a label.
Mm-hmm.
But the way that I look at the way I've been operating with the artists that I do work with specifically,
might as well.
The artists that I manage, I really am a label. You know, I'm acting as an A&R, as a project manager. I'm stepping in. I'm still very involved with the music creation process. If all else, at very least on the post-production side. But, you know, I'm calling in favors left and right. I manage an artist by the name of XB Valentine. She's a really dope artist.
Already. Shout out.
Yeah, and you know, I've pulled in some favors for her, man.
Hip hop,
But she does like R&B, hip hop, you know. But she can rap, but she's really unique in the sense that like she's kind of an old soul new artist, but she still very much does the new style of music. But you know, we're about to wrap up her album. It's coming out in May.
Is she interviewing?
Yeah, she's interviewing. I would love to bring her out here before the album drops. The album's dropping in May. But you know, we have Bone Thugs and Harmony on the album. We have Westside Boogie. We have Royce on the album, and we have D Smoke on the album. And to me, to be able to do that independently, and to be able to call in my favors with these guys that I've established relationships with, you know, I want to present her and package her to the best of my abilities as a major independent. You know,
there you go.
And I feel that that's gonna, you know, and that's how I ended up in the Rock Nation office to begin with in June of last year, was because of, you know, me working with her and people noticing and identifying that we're doing a good job with her. But it's time to take it a step further, and you know, it wouldn't mean nothing more than to be able to continue to change your life, elevate her, and put her in a position to where she's at very least a profitable recording artist. You know, because there's success, as you guys know, it's very subjective, you know.
Yes, we just got to talk about it.
Yeah,
for a word.
Yeah, so I think I think the main goal is to be able to turn a profit with these guys and make sure that they're in a good position. But the goal is eventually to continue to work on being viewed and doing my part to be that music executive.
There you go. I wish you all the success, bro.
Nah, man, I appreciate
you got what it takes. Like I said, you and I spoke. I think people need to reach out to you. You know, probably tap into your knowledge. You know what I'm saying? I mean, we got a resource right here in the Metroplex that's very underutilized.
Speaking of, how do people reach out to you?
So they can reach out, you know, I mean, look, at this point, I don't mind giving out my phone number. It's 817-962-7200, but you can reach out Instagram, Facebook, Smooth Vega across the board. And I appreciate that, because I think, you know, when we talk about the word underutilized, why I say that is because, you know, and I've never been the guy to be like overly loud and do the whole like, look at me, I am a self-promoter. I'm a self-promoter, but when it comes down to it, when it comes down to what I do believe I'm the best at what I do, and I don't feel that there's anybody better at what I do, or period. Like, I feel like I could play various roles. Like, I act as I'm a graphic designer, a web designer, social media manager.
Speak on it.
I act as an agent. I broker deals for not only local, independent, and also national talent. In addition to that, I manage and I promote, and I could still get busy and produce and create and write music at any given time.
And you teach a class.
And I just started class for that. And, you know, being able to, you know, year round, I'm speaking at schools. You know, I'm doing career days at elementary schools, at middle schools, and high schools throughout the city. You know, doing my best to be an ambassador for the city. You know, I even, you know, last year got an opportunity to speak to over 200 students at TCU for a marketing course. You're talking about a guy that graduated from high school, homeschool, right? Never went to college. You know, at one point I had a teacher tell me, why are you even here? You're wasting your time, because I was getting in trouble so much. But yet I'm the one talking to universities, you know? Yeah. And, you know, and I think it's important for people to understand when I say that underutilized thing is because I'm not, you know what, a lot of these guys, man, they love to hear themselves talk.
Come on.
You know, they do interviews, and all they want to do is sell you on they're the used car salesmen, right? Like, look at me, I'm the car that's shiny. If you drive me, I'll take you here, right?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, like, I always believe that, you know, results are always going to speak louder than words, right?
There you go.
And so if people do their research and their due diligence, God willing, they'll be able to see all the work that I've been able to do. And there's no way to really, like, consolidate it or like break it down in one sitting. Like, I have a long enough career now to where you have to go through different variations of like, well, this is him as the rapper, this is him as the promoter, this is him as the manager, this is him as the social media manager, this is him as the broker. And, you know, the fact that I've had my hand in so many different situations over the years, including the podcast space, which is still, even though I've been doing it now for a while, still relatively new. And I appreciate
you're a veteran in it. You're a veteran in it because you know.
Well, I mean, I want to tell people story the right way. I feel that you're doing it the right way, and it's not all about, hey, you know what? Let's get a reaction out of everybody. We need to tell the stories the right way and educate the next generation, because it's so important that we do that and we assume that role, because nobody is trying to teach these kids how to be better. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
That's one of our goals.
At the end of the day, when it's all said and done, I'm no longer here. It's not just within music; it's within the world. I just want to leave it better than I found it. That's it.
That's the way life is, bro. You got some shout outs?
Man, I want to shout out to Bobo Luciano, man, Super Tight TV. And you guys have been nothing but great. A shout out to everybody that's been supporting. Obviously, XP Valentine, we got a project coming out in May. Yes. That's the artist that I manage. And, shout out to everybody that I work with. I know Rakim Al-Jabbar is a mutual.
Yes, sir. What's up, Rakim? What's up, nephew?
Man, I always say he sounds like Shaquille O'Neal. So next time you hear him talk, like, yeah. I sound like Shaquille. Yeah. Rakim Al-Jabbar. That's my guy, man. Just salute to all the creators out there that are trying to do what they do. I'm here, man. At the end of the day, I went through a lot of the experiences that I went through, so some of the guys don't have to. And of course, people are still going to go through what they're going to go through. But, don't complicate your journey, guys. Like, if you don't know how to fix a car, don't try to fix it.
Come on, man.
Go to the mechanic.
Stay in your lane.
Well, you don't want to get overran by mediocreness anyway. Yeah. Only the serious people. Serious inquiries only. You know what I'm talking about? Y'all reach out to the man. Yeah. He's got a plethora of information that I ain't gonna say he gonna give it to you. Yeah. Game is to be sold, not told. You know what I'm talking about? And that's the way it is. But I appreciate you coming out, brother.
No, man, I appreciate you giving me the time and the platform, and anytime, man, I'm here.
Already, man. I got my man Smooth Vega in the house. You a real super tight guest, baby.
No, I'ma get some game tuned in with Super Tight. Yeah. I get it all up from Big Bobo, from the front seat, not no photos.